morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for your patience. We're running a little bit behind. This is your first time, right?
It is.
Okay, so I have to actually explain the rules here. A lot of people are repeat offenders, so to speak. First of all, welcome aboard. Thank you very much for your application and your commitment to the process. You'll see a piece of paper right in front of you with a pen there. I'm going to call after hours only those 6 individuals who were submitting to the governor's office. So can I have an after hours number? We can get a hold of you at. Let me know when you're done. Okay, we've allotted 15 minutes plus or minus to each applicant. You can take a few moments in the beginning to tell us about yourself or maybe something that we won't glean from your application. If you run on too long, I'm probably going to shut you down because the committee has some questions for you. That being said, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. My name is katiejacobus. I began my career here in Brevard County as a certified legal intern with the state attorney's office. From there, I was hired by Jacobus Fielding and Billy as an associate attorney. And as a new associate, I did everything from county court civil, mediations, depositions, and I finally earned my way up to the criminal docket. In the course of the criminal docket, I handled everything from first-degree felonies all the way down to DUI, DMV, administrative hearings. I've handled over 2,500 cases throughout my career, specifically in Brevard County, as well as practiced throughout the state of Florida and counties such as Miami-Dade, Indian River County, Gainesville, Highland counties. And from there, that firm eventually dissolved. Jack Platt, Billy Hopwood, and I formed our own firm, and I continue with the criminal docket as well as took on the role as managing partner. As managing partner, I help with the day-to-day operations with staff relations, client intake, marketing, and from there, I opened up my own practice as a sole practitioner. It was after some time that I decided that I want to get back to the true practice of law and not have to focus so much on the business aspect of it, and that's what led me back to the state attorney's office, where I've been for the past 3 years, prosecuting juvenile defendants. I was raised in Brevard County, and I'd like to thank you for this opportunity today.
Super. Andrew, we'll start with you.
First and foremost, I've heard nothing but compliments about your character and demeanor, the way you carry yourself, and I see that exemplified today, and I appreciate your time. I just was curious, in 2003, you had a rather eventful, 2 different items you disclosed was the driving while license canceled, revoked, suspended, and also you had a civil case in small claims with Capital One that was paid in full.
Yes.
But was there anything happening in your life at that time?
There really wasn't. If you notice in my application with true candor, I did not pass the bar exam right away. It took me a little bit to pass the exam. And at that time, there was nothing great going on. I think it was just youth and inexperience and poor decision-making, poor financial decision-making that led me to that.
Okay. And how have you rebounded from that? As you said, youth, poor decision-making, et cetera.
I think that was a big eye-opener for me. When you have, at a young age, when you have a lawsuit filed against you from a financial aspect, it kind of sets you in the right line. And I think that I just learned from that experience. And as you get older and you get married and have children, you realize how important it is to make good financial choices.
Thank you.
Dan?
I'm particularly interested in the writing samples submitted, and I'm wondering what your thought process was in submitting these 2 particular writing samples with your application.
Quite frankly, in the practice of criminal defense as well as a prosecutor, and I spent a good portion of my time in misdemeanor court, you don't have an opportunity to write the great motions that you get to do in law school. And so I didn't have a lot of options to choose from. Although I did write a lot in law school, I haven't written a lot in private practice nor as a state attorney's office. And to be candid, those were the 2 that I remember truly taking some time and writing with. So those are the two that I selected.
Have you had any appellate writing experience?
Right.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yes, out of the current judges here in the bar, if you were selected, which judge would you look to or go to for advice or have him or her mentor? Which judge stands out to you?
I think 2 of the judges that stand out for me is one is Judge Harris. When I practiced before him as a criminal defense attorney, the one thing I admire in him is the way he runs his docket. He's able to have respect for everybody that comes in his courtroom, but he can assert his senses and dispositions with a strong hand. And I think finding that balance is something that I admire, especially what I would want to bring as my demeanor in my courtroom should I be selected. As well as I think Judge Davidson, I was before her for a substantial amount of time. And again, I feel that I have a relationship that I can go to her and say, look, Judge, I need help here. So, and Fortunately, I think that we have a lot of really good judges on the bench that are open to helping not only new judges, but new attorneys, so.
Okay, thank you.
Tim?
Good morning.
Good morning.
How do you think being in juvenile court as the assistant state attorney will help you in county court criminal?
I think a difficult part, not difficult, but a challenge from going from being an advocate to a judge is maintaining the role of the judge and not stepping over as being a true advocate. And I think that when being, as a juvenile prosecutor, the goal of the juvenile division is to be rehabilitative as well as being punitive. It's not a strict punitive sentence. So you kind of have to find that dance to work with the defense attorney and not necessarily say, okay, we are going after him and he's going to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. We need to find a balance. And I think that as a judge, you have to find that balance. You have to be very aware of the fact that you're not going to step over the bench and be an advocate, but you have to find a dance between the two sides. And I think that as juvenile, I think that has been a benefit for me.
Phil?
Morning, Katie.
Good morning.
You know, before you applied, I thought I knew you, in those years I had the pleasure of practicing with your husband. By the way, please have our regards. But the letters and the phone calls I've gotten since the application have been cast in a more favorable light on you. So whatever you're doing out there, you're doing it well. With that, Mr. Chairman, I've got no questions.
Thank you.
Good
Donna?
morning.
Good morning.
Being here. I noticed on your application that you are on the board of the National Veterans Homeless Support
Yes.
Foundation.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you first, just if you could just tell us what that is, and then if you plan, if you are appointed to the county bench, if you plan to have any involvement in the Veterans Court program.
Yes, how I ended up getting involved in this is my husband had ran for judge. And we went to all these different campaign events. And we went to an event where George Taylor, who is the head of the National Veterans Homeless, was speaking. And I was just so taken aback because I did not know that there was an organization for Brevard County that provided such assistance to the homeless veterans in Brevard County. This is an organization where, you know, if you see somebody on the street, even myself walk by, and there's a homeless veteran that needs a place to stay, I can call up George and I will help have a team of people out there assisting getting this person in place. And it's just what he's done and what he's been able to build for the Brevard County homeless veterans is amazing. They do stand-downs where they go into the homeless sections of the wooded area, and they go with provisions, as well as give them resources to get them out of the situation that they're in. In misdemeanor court, you often see a lot of veterans with PTSD or other mental health issues. That is the reason why they're brought before the court. So it's definitely an organization that I would like to continue with.
Just a couple thoughts and questions. Do you go by Katie or Catherine?
I go by Katie.
Okay. You know, personally, I think the best qualities for a judge, whether it's county or circuit, is someone who brings intellect, experience, and a good demeanor. You can be brilliant, and if you're not a nice person, you're going to have problems on the bench. And if you have the demeanor but not the intellect, you're going to struggle through the process. I have no question that you would have the proper judicial demeanor. I mean, we've gotten letters and phone calls, and you're a very sweet, nice person. So I'd like to focus on the experience, if I may, because I'm certainly not going to talk about the intellect, but the experience. I mean, I'm looking at as a lawyer, what you've done as a lawyer. You were a certified legal intern with the state attorney's office, so your role is limited there, correct? And then as an associate attorney with Platt and Jacobus for the better portion of 2006 to 11, you were working your way up the food chain, so to speak, to even get into the courtroom, correct? And then you became a partner at Platt and Jacobus, but that was for less than a year, correct?
Yes.
So that was not meaningful in any fashion, I would imagine. And then you went out on your own for 1 year. We don't have months here, so I can only assume it was about a year doing criminal work, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Probably in the misdemeanor area more than the felony?
I did, it was probably a 50-50 split at that point.
Okay. And why did you go back to the state attorney's office? Because I generally don't, I always feel a little uncomfortable when people are out there and they're doing their thing and they're interacting and they're making money. Why did you go back to the state attorney's office?
I had to take a year break. I went out on my own. And after I went on my own, I was pregnant, and for health reasons, I had to take a year off because of that pregnancy. And then during the course of that, I just decided that I truly, to be quite honest, I want to just practice law. I didn't want to do the business aspect of it. I didn't want to do the hustle of getting clients at the time. And I wanted to get the experience, to have more jury experience and more trial experience, and to be more involved in the courtroom. And that's what brought me back to the state attorney's office.
If one were to look at your application and the financial component, I'm always concerned about someone who's getting a pay raise by going on the bench in terms of motivation. You indicate your net worth is $812. How would you respond to that? How would you respond to someone saying, well, you just want to go on the bench because you made $50,000 last year and you want to raise to 130, 140? I mean, how do you respond to that?
I think that's kind of a false statement. I think people that want to become a judge for power and for money, I think that's, if you want to be in the legal profession, you want to make a lot of money, you want to have a lot of power, you don't become a judge. You just don't. And although the past 3 years isn't reflective of me making a high salary, prior to that, when I was in private practice, I did do very well for myself. For me, it's not the financial component. My husband is an attorney. I don't do this job. And I went to law school to be a criminal attorney. And being a criminal attorney isn't necessarily indicative of making a very substantial income. So the income is not a factor for me with applying for this position.
Do you know when this position comes up for an open election? Have you done that
I
research?
believe that it's 5 years, I believe.
Okay, so it's your understanding that if you're appointed to the seat, that you'll hold it for 5 years before you have to run?
I believe so, yes.
I don't have any follow-up. Does anything, can we members have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.